Hi, my name is Justin, and today we're going to be looking at the GDP versus GDP per capita and how that affects the standard of living. So the GDP is the gross domestic product, and that is the total amount of how much a country produces and how much they're projected to make off of the goods and services that they produce. So the United States is at 16.6 trillion. That's their GDP, and we're at number 1. China, number 2, is at 8.5 trillion. Number 3 is Japan, and they're at 5.9 trillion. Number 4 is Germany, they're at 3.4 trillion, and India at number 5 at 1.8 trillion. So how I'm going to show this here is I got some Fruit Loops here. So I'm going to put some on each country here. So United States, because since we're number 1, we got the highest GDP. We're going to get the most Fruit Loops here. And then China at number 2. Get some Fruit Loops. Alright, Japan number 3, give them some Fruit Loops. Germany, take some from Germany there. And then India, and India does not have that many, so India is poor. Okay, so that's the GDP showing with the Fruit Loops. Now, when you factor in the per capita, how you find the GDP per capita is you divide the GDP by the population, and then that is how you're going to get the per capita. So once you divide the United States and their GDP, their per capita for the United States is going to come to 49,601. That's going to be the GDP per capita for the United States after you divide our population with our total GDP. China is going to come to 6,188,000. Japan at number 3 is going to come for their per capita 46,707. Germany at number 4 is going to have 41,866. And India, their GDP per capita is 1,501. So the per capita means like how much that a person living in that country, their average on how much they're going to make. So in the United States, the average person is going to make $49,000. But then in India, the average person is only going to make $1,500 because the popular is a lot higher, and that's how it affects it. So we're going to take some Fruit Loops after that, take some Fruit Loops away from India, and now they only have 2, even though the country looks like it's doing well when you just look at the GDP, because they're number 5 in the world if you just look at their GDP. But if you look at then you factor in their population to get the per capita, it's going to come to 1,500. So really the country that shows how really poor the country is. Japan, doing pretty well. They're going to make 46,000, so they're not doing too bad. So I'm going to give them a couple of India's Fruit Loops. In China, they have 8.5 trillion GDP, but then they only have 6,188 per capita because they have so many people in the country. So even though the country is pretty rich, the people are poor, and that's how the GDP and the GDP per capita affect the standard of living when you're living in a country. If the country can look really well by just looking at their GDP, but then when you factor in the population, then it goes down a lot. So that is my project, the GDP versus GDP per capita, and how that affects the standard of living. Thank you.